the election campaign officially starting this week in Nigeria, as you heard earlier on the program. And this is the point in the show that I introduced our guest analysts, who are here to give their perspectives on nearly everything we've covered in the past 45 minutes or so on the program. And today I'm joined here in the studio by the political affairs commentator, Arise News analyst and lecturer at Bayes University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, and by Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, Mahmood Jega. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for coming in. And let me come to you, Mr. Jega. First, you heard the two, the PDP and of course the NNPP. The NNPP had the chance to hit back at the PDP. The PDP didn't quite have the chance to do the same. What's your assessment?
Well, I listened to both of them. I sympathize with the PDP spokesman because he didn't have a ready answer to the question that is uppermost in the minds of Nigerians with respect to his party, which is the sharp division caused by the rebellion by the River State governor and several of his colleagues. Well, it's an open rebellion.
Yeah.
And he just kept on emphasizing that the party has to follow its constitution and process, which is true, but the constitution may not be able to solve a major political problem like the one you have. And obviously there is more public interest in the PDP than in the NNPP because the PDP looks bigger and as you describe it, it's the main...
It has been in power. I mean,
it was in power, so we know a lot about it. Has a lot of governors now, a lot of senators, and controls many states. So, but the NNPP is struggling. It doesn't control any state. I don't know whether it has a lot of legislators. I don't think there are many. Otherwise, the NNPP spokesman also made some very sensible remarks, especially about the priorities.
He seemed a fairly level-headed chap.
He made a good point about security being paramount because really all the other problems that we have, the economic ones, the infrastructural ones, unless there is security, you can't really even do anything about any of those. So it was a good showing.
Yeah, but I mean, Prof, to be fair, everybody knows that security is paramount. I mean, the issue is how you're going to solve it. And to be fair to the NNPP, he did, in the little time he had, posit some thoughts on how they were going to deal with that.
Yeah, I thought it was quite eloquent. You know, he has a very deep understanding of some of these issues, and of course, his manner of rendering them was also very impressive. You know, and of course, ordinarily I would have wanted that kind of person, you know, to be operating under the aegis of a bigger party, you know, because it looks very sophisticated. And of course, I expect that we're going to see...
Well, he might be ideologically linked to the NNPP. He might actually like working for the NNPP.
That's possible, you know, but going forward, because this is campaign season, a period of carnival, a carnival period, a first period of, like a festival sort of democracy, we expect to see more of these individuals coming up to speak on behalf of their party, and maybe digging deeper into their recesses and feeding us with things that we probably want to hear.
Yes,
we're going to see more of this, on the platform of all the parties. But I want to say that I think at some point we might begin to see a departure from giving recognition from the parties. We might start focusing on the individuals, you know, flying the flags of the party and see what the potentials they hold for us. Because if you look at all these political parties, they are practically not too different in terms of ideology. We have made this point severally. They don't have identifiable philosophies on which you can hold them. You know, there are pretenses to centrism, progressivism, etc., etc.
And most of them have done the rounds, haven't they? Of all the parties,
we're looking at the individuals, really, and what the individuals hold for the country, you know. And that's where I see us going through, irrespective of the pronouncements of all these spokesmen, because some of them just come with platitudes, things we've been hearing in the past, things that don't really resonate with the member conscious members of the society, and at the end of the day, you still see them trying to play the politics of old, which is about politics of monism, so to say, nothing rational, nothing solid at the level of ideas and ideology.
That's why it'll be very interesting, won't it, Mahmood Jega, to see how this campaign goes this time, because they're all talking about wanting it to be largely issue-based, but I mean, as Prof pointed out, there's always that money element sort of hovering in the background. But also, I wonder what your expectation is, given that you've got the political parties, their presidential candidates coming from different ethnic zones of the country. Do you expect this campaign to be ethnicized, going by what you're seeing so far, or do you expect it to be largely issue-based?
It will be a mixture of all of them. You cannot prevent some people. You see, even the candidates do not have control over some of their support groups and their supporters. Sometimes, actually, in the name of supporting you, some people will do more damage to your campaign, by regionalizing.
By their exuberance.
Exactly, by their exuberance, or they say certain things. Yep. Maybe they are addressing the audience in one part of the country.
And we are all in the same inflammatory things in the news recently.
Yes, we are all in the same country. If you say something, maybe because you think it will play well in this part of the country, people from other parts of the country will also read it.
Absolutely.
And they will hear it, and it may backfire. But it's very important, I think, now I have seen in recent days all the major parties, when they are pressed, let's have your program, they promise that their program is coming. Now, it is very important to have this program. Not so much perhaps because it will determine the voting behavior of most of our voters, but so that any one of them that wins the election, we will have something to hold him onto, and to also make sure that, because otherwise, the way we do politics here, you spend all the time running to the house of this prominent person, paying courtesy call to this traditional ruler, planning mass rallies, how you can get million-man march, and you entirely forget about having a program of what you will do. And part of it, of course, is because of the lack of sophistication of our electorate. You are not asking these candidates about their program for education. As you said, when the NNPP spokesman identified correctly security as our top problem, he said something about community policing. But you see, we need to hear more than that. We need to hear something out of the box that will get us out of this mess, so that whoever wins, we will hold him to the program. We don't want what happened in 2015 to happen again. We saw a very nice program of what we will do in 90 days. But by the time the government, when it was 90 days, we said, look, the 90 days are over. They said, well, we are not the ones who... we are not the ones who propounded that program. We don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Professor Adeniyi, one of the things we've talked about a lot is the need for structures across the country to improve the chances of a political party. We saw the NNPP. We saw a lot of their pictures. I mean, they've been going across the country, to be fair, setting up offices and all that sort of thing to big fanfare. What structures do you think you need to have as a political party, one of the political parties, to challenge your competitors really effectively in this country?
But I think our own understanding of structure is not necessarily physical structure. Sometimes it involves, or most times really, it also includes, having people in office, people who have flown, who flew the flag of your party, becoming governors, senators, House of Representatives, etc., etc. I think that's what we mean really when we talk about structure in this context. There's something again, maybe a huge war chest or ability to co-opt funds, to get.
What about in the minds of people as well?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Yeah. So it's not just in the tangible, which is just physical things, but also the intangible also matter, and we are seeing it being demonstrated by one of the parties, particularly Labour Party, for instance. I mean, and they are trying to prove, to the populace or to the elites, those who are critical of them, that structures is not just about the physical. We have the people, and mind is going to matter more, than matter in this situation. And that's why we're having they are embarking on rallies across the country to demonstrate that it's a movement. So it's a welcome development, really, because they have spiced up the political atmosphere, and it's becoming more like a conversation, more like a narration. Changing the dynamics of the political sphere, as the case could be. And I see this continuing, over time towards the election. But again, what is left to be seen again is how the NNPP can come in and demonstrate its own ability, just like the Labour Party is doing, so that if we have 4 of the parties, like we want to mention sometimes, coming in and making their own point, well, overall, the atmosphere will be better spiced up, and we're going to have an interesting campaign process. But going into the campaign, as with they launch their campaigns, we're expecting again media fireworks. Heavy media fireworks. Campaign funds will rise, advertising funds will increase, and we're going to see lots of creativity. We're going to be entertained further, because I know that a lot of them are preparing for this.
Yes.
So it's going to be a season of entertainment, a season of excitement. But what will gratify our democracy better is if it is weaved around issues, issues that will not just end at the level of pronouncement, but the level of implementation at the end of the day.
That's a very good point. And we've got about a minute and a half or so, Mahmood Jega. Let's end with the PDP, because we have talked about the challenge that they face with the internecine fight that's going on there. Do you share the optimism of the spokesman of the party that they'll solve the problem soon enough?
Sometimes the politicians know things that we do not know, but the most important point I thought that the PDP spokesman made, because you asked him the question whether he thinks Nigerians are ready to bring them back after voting them out in 2015 and rejecting them again in 2019. Well, he reeled out some figures which are quite popular, that, with respect to exchange rate, inflation rate, debt, stock, and things like that, the country was probably better off under their rule than what happened subsequently. But then, of course, some of the problems that arose out of their own rule, and also some have a global dimension. So the public will still have to decide really whether they will give them a chance. But right now, their biggest problem is to solve that internal schism.
Yes,
it is their biggest problem right now.
Absolutely. And on that note, Mahmood Jega, Arise News analyst, former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, and Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, political commentator, Arise News analyst, and lecturer at Bayes University in Abuja. Thank you very much indeed.